August is always sort of a double-edged sword month. On one hand, we're getting a lot of harvest, and it's really nice to see kind of the result of all the work and all the food that we're able to preserve for the winter. On the other hand, the garden just becomes very, very difficult to manage. It's really hot, it's really humid. We start getting a lot more disease and pest pressure. And this August in particular has been really difficult. The last video that we put out, we had just gotten back from a 1-week vacation, and I was excited to try to kind of get things back in shape. Anyone that has a big garden and leaves knows it takes quite a lot of work, even just a few days away. But what ended up hitting was basically incessant rain since we've gotten back. So nearly all of August, we've just had daily rain. We've had I don't know how many inches of rain, but a ton. It's by far been the rainiest August that we've ever had in Ohio since we moved here in 2017. So that's made, obviously getting into the garden more difficult. It's been quite a lot of weed pressure. The only upside is we haven't had to water, so in usually August we're watering a decent amount. But all that disease pressure and inability to get into the garden has just made it a lot more difficult. We are getting into a stretch of much nicer weather coming up. So you can see I've got a sweater on today, first sweater of the season, and so we're starting to think about our fall plantings. And it's also a lesson in kind of rolling with the punches. So one of the things about gardening is it humbles you. You can never control everything. There's so many things that are outside of your control, and so you kind of have to just learn to take what nature and what the garden gives you on any given season. Let me take you around and kind of look at some of the things that are going on, some of the interesting things that we see towards this time of the season. And then we'll also go inside and kind of look at some of the things that we're preserving for the winter. If you stick around, I also have an exciting announcement that we'll make towards the end of the video. Hope you enjoy it. I guess we can start by talking about what this big vine is that we've got growing up here, probably 16 feet tall. This is bottle gourd. It's new for us this year. Some friends gave us the seeds, and the small little fruit you can eat kind of like a zucchini, kind of saute it up. But we let a few of these, well, quite a few of them, get a lot bigger. They are absolutely massive, probably 3 feet long. And I think we could dry those and then, maybe make bird structures or things like that out of those. If anyone's done that and has any tips for that, let us know in the comments. So one of these has some sort of rot at the bottom, so let me cut it off. This is just sort of a small to medium sized one, but I'll show you kind of what they look like. Ooh, heavy. So there's one of them. We've got other ones that are probably at least twice that long. So we'll see them. We're hoping we can kind of dry them and make something out of them. Like I said, if you guys have any tips on how to do that, let us know. Another plant highlight that really kind of shines this time of year is this amaranth. And actually these were self-seeded from last year. The ones that self-seeded got quite a lot bigger than the ones we transplanted. So this one's probably a good 9 feet tall. They just have these kind of big blooms, almost look like a torch of fire. And they're kind of this maroon color. Very, very pretty plant. The tomatoes are still trying to hold on. They have a decent amount of disease. It's been probably the worst conditions for tomatoes with all the rain and the high heat and humidity. But the plants are still going. There's actually a decent amount of okay looking tomatoes. We've kind of had a lag period where we had a ton of heirloom tomatoes. And then the past week we've kind of gone through a lot of those, and now we're kind of waiting for the other flush, assuming the plants can kind of survive it, because the weather coming up is a lot better for the tomatoes. So I'm hopeful that we'll get kind of a second round before the season's completely over. The purple hyacinth bean always shines this time of year as well. We've got it growing over these cattle panel trellises. We just really love the deep coloration, both of the leaves as well as the flowers. As always, the peppers this time of year are shining. They do much better than the tomatoes as far as disease goes, just producing a ton. They do kind of slow down in fruit production when it gets really, really hot. And so we'll harvest a lot of these, and we'll probably actually get a whole nother flush of them now that we've kind of gotten to slightly cooler later season weather and longer nights. Like the peppers, the eggplant haven't really slowed down. It's been a really good year for eggplant. We've tried pretty much every eggplant dish imaginable, and we still have a ton of eggplant. We planted 4 plants this year. They don't take up that much space, so I'm not thinking we might reduce that next year, but a very, very pretty plant and still doing really well despite the unfavorable weather. So right here we have our Brussels sprouts, and this is a pretty standard way that we keep our fall brassicas when we plant them in the summer. We actually have all of our broccoli and cabbage and cauliflower to plant, but I'm going to plant those today. What we have over the top, we have an insect netting to prevent the cabbage moths from getting to the plants. And then I have this 30% shade cloth. That's over on the western side. So they'll get a little morning sun through here. And then when it gets to the hotter part of the afternoon, they'll get some shade. Once we're consistently not getting highs in the 80s, then we'll take the shade cloth off. And sometimes we have to take it off and on. And then lots of times we have to transition this to a frost cloth as we get towards the later part of the season, just because there's so much change that happens between August when we plant these and then late October and early November when we harvest them. This bed here had our zucchini previously, and so we took that all out once the squash vine borers started damaging the plants. And then what's in here right now is a buckwheat cover crop. We're just getting to the flowers. They have pretty white flowers. The pollinators really like those as well. We don't usually harvest the buckwheat, although technically we could. I think it'd be sort of tedious, but it's a great way to keep a bed kind of healthy and productive during a transition time if you don't have something else that you want to plant in it right away. Now, once we got rid of that first bed of zucchini, we actually planted a second set right after we harvested our garlic, kept it under cover initially, and now we've removed the cover. So now we're still getting a massive amount of zucchini harvest. It's a method that we've used for a few years now to get zucchini throughout the whole season and kind of just rolling with the punches as far as the pests go. Down this pathway, we've got a whole bunch of zinnias, and then this is something we've done past few years. This bed had our potatoes, and we've done some quick maturing sunflowers here. So these will produce a nice kind of fall colored flower within the next about month or so. Something that has worked really well. The variety, they're the Pro Cut variety, so they don't have pollen, and so when you bring them inside, you don't get kind of that mess of pollen for cut flowers. This bed's worked out really well. It's a little more unruly than I thought it would be, but it looks really pretty. We've got our dahlias, quite big. I think I need better support for these next time. I found that these are really going to come into their own this next 6 weeks or so as we get those cooler nights. They really love that. And then we've got our blueberry plants. These have done really well in the wine barrels. And then I really like these marigolds. It's a white marigold, kind of a puffy, multi-petaled flower. Just very, very pretty. So I'll probably be repeating this combination next year. As is usually the case, the sweet potatoes have completely taken over this area. There are straw bales down this way, and I did put a little vertical support. The idea is you want to try to get as much foliage that's not trying to create little sweet potatoes, because one of the things we found last year is the plants will try to create sweet potatoes every time they touch, and then you end up getting a lot of small sweet potatoes instead of a few big ones. But I'm pretty excited. I think it's going to be a good season. We're probably going to harvest these in about a month or so. Last few years we've waited until the frost, but I actually think it's almost too long of a season, and then we get those kind of really big, more tough sweet potatoes. So we definitely will do a video where we kind of take this all out and see what we get. It's really fun to pull them out of the straw bales. So over this way, I am in the jungle of the orchard, and one of the things you can see, my fruit trees have gotten quite big. I decided to try not summer pruning them this year. We had a really harsh winter last year, and I had some winter damage on many of the trees, and my worry is that perhaps the pruning of the trees in the summer kind of induced some new shoots, and that made them more susceptible to winter damage. So we'll see. I'm gonna have to do quite a heavy winter pruning, but it's all an experiment. So the trees look really healthy. They're just very vigorous and quite tall. I also have some pumpkins that I'm allowing to kind of sprawl through here, so I'll bring you in closer and we'll look at those. Last year we started our carving pumpkins too early and they basically rotted before Halloween, so hopefully we got the timing right this year. The pumpkins do look pretty good. I have them just sort of sprawling around on the floor of the orchard here. The figs have done really well this year. We have been having ripe figs for about 3 or 4 weeks now. Only real issue is we have a bunch of wasps that are eating the figs. Now there's still enough for us to eat, but I think I'm gonna have to do something about that. We didn't get peaches this year, but my worry is if we have all these wasps that they would attack the peaches as well. So could be some little bags, but we actually have a few wasp nests that we intentionally kind of left there thinking what harm could they do. But I think next year we're gonna kind of knock those off and not allow them to establish here. So, but 6 different varieties of figs. They're all grown in 25-gallon grow bags. The reason we were able to get fruit so early in zone 6 is we bring them indoors, and then the branches and stuff don't die all the way back to the ground. So great fig year. We've done multiple harvests of our paste tomatoes, but they've done really well despite all of the horrible weather that we have. The little V trellises that we're using are really good. I got the seal of approval from Hilary, who is often out here harvesting these to make her sauce. Speaking of which, we're actually gonna go inside. She's just finished pressure canning some sauce, so let's go check in with her and see how that's been going.
Okay, so this year, I have decided that I wanted to have more pre-made sauces. So today, I decided to can pizza sauce. Last year, we made just tomato sauce canned in a water bath, thinking, okay, you know, we'll make pizza sauce throughout the winter. But truthfully, on a Thursday night at 6 o'clock, I did not want to make pizza sauce. I would need fresh basil, I would need fresh garlic. So this year, pizza sauce, spaghetti sauce, everything is going to be pressure canned. So why would we pressure can versus water bath can? Well, simply put, a pressure canner allows the temperature inside the jar to get really, really hot, killing any microorganisms that can grow during storage. So pizza sauce, spaghetti sauce, anything with garlic and onions, the acidity changes inside the sauce, so I like to ensure that it gets sealed and canned correctly. Now, plain tomato sauce can be easily water bath canned. You usually add lemon juice or citric acid, which is what we did last year. We got a deep freeze in the winter of 24 to 2025, and we used it last year for tomatillos and tomatoes, but we didn't really maximize how efficient it could be for food preservation. So this year, we are trying to freeze almost all of the food we grow that can be frozen. So let me show you what we have frozen so far. So before I got the pressure canner out, I decided to do tomato soup. So these are 2-cup servings, or actually I think they're 1-cup servings, and we can thaw these and cook them over the stove in the winter. We have my masala sauce, again 1-cup serving. So one of these cubes can be thawed, mixed with chickpeas, and it's basically a nice curry, a chickpea curry. We've frozen green beans, which apparently I didn't label. We have frozen corn. I mean, we have frozen red pepper, broccoli, so much zucchini. If you're wondering what we've done with all those zucchinis, we have zucchinis and broccoli and all of our poblanos, which these we absolutely love. We will use these all winter. We make egg scrambles, soups. They're a great thing. Peppers are really easy to freeze. some broth. These tomatoes are actually from last year. And I think having frozen tomatoes is nice. However, I feel like freezing them just prolongs the inevitable, which is that you have to thaw them and then turn around and cook whatever you're going to use them for. So again, going back to the sauce, I would rather have the sauce made and ready for dinner on a Thursday night. One of my favorite things to freeze is tomato paste. I cook our first batch of tomatoes down, and you can't really tell, but these are ice cube tray servings, which is about how much you need in almost every recipe. You need about 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, freeze it, have a single serving, boom. So that is something I would recommend everybody does. And this year, of course, we have a great harvest of onions, garlic, shallots, potatoes, and we're trying to store them in burlap bags in our dark canning room where we store all of our canned goods. So we're hoping that having a dark sealed but airflow bag will help them all store longer, because we have found in the past that potatoes will start chitting, and then we have to just use them really quickly, but they're still great. So hopefully that storage process works really well.
So I teased as far as a big announcement that we have, and so we're super excited. We are actually going to be putting in a greenhouse. I'll put some aerial shots so you can kind of see where we are, but unfortunately we are going to remove a couple of these evergreen trees, but it's going to be a nice big glass greenhouse, and we're just so excited on how that's going to change and expand on what we can grow.
I'm excited because I think about growing cilantro and basil and parsley and hopefully lettuces and any kind of thing you would have to buy at the store, but we won't have to buy it. In the middle of January and February, I'll be able to say, hey, is there cilantro for salsa? And I think that's going to be amazing.
Plus, you know, the figs, so we'll be able to bring those indoors. We'll probably...
Ooh, citrus maybe?
Yeah, maybe try some smaller lime and lemon trees.
Sounds fun.
We are 90% sure it's going to be made by Arcadia Glass House. We're just still finalizing some things. But if you want to kind of see that process, we'll probably try to document kind of as it's going, foundation, kind of decisions, you know, hopefully not too many speed bumps along the way. It will be somewhere about 20 by 30 feet-ish.
Right.
Pretty big greenhouse. And then this kind of area that we are in right now, which is just south of the garden, we want to have sort of a courtyard kind of type feel. So a lot of really fun, exciting things. And if you want to see how that progresses, follow along.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to try to make use of this cool weather we have and get our fall brassicas planted. I'm going to be planting them in the 2 beds where we had our onions. I hope you enjoyed the video. If there's any questions you guys have, leave them in the comments. Happy gardening, everyone.